Fun, doesn't he? But first, let's plough through Friday's front pages, and we're going to start with the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail leads with GPs vote to close doors at just 5 p.m. The Telegraph reads, Johnson and Truss planning in rebellion to challenge Sunak's authority. The Eye leads with student visa crackdown set to spark major cabinet row. The Guardian leads with MPs urge investigation into PPE contracts after Moan or Monet revelations. The Times with foreign students face ban from universities. The Sun leads with Walliams quits BGT. And finally, the Daily Star reads bunk off Friday ahead of England's World Cup game tomorrow. Right, let's get straight into it. And we're going to kick off with the front page of the Mail, Leo.
Yeah, so it leads with that story. GPs have already voted to shut their doors at just 5 p.m. So up until now, the standard time which GP surgeries shut the doors was 6:30 p.m. So you could, rush home from work and get out and have a doctor's appointment, maybe save your life. But now doctors who earn around, I think it's around 110 grand a year on average. Well, they say they're working too much. That doesn't take you past 5 p.m. It's like, if you want me to stay longer, you've got to pay more money. So they're saying, we're not gonna see any more people. Some practices some practices got into bad practices, sorry to use the same word, during lockdown. So they're doing everything via Zoom consultations, and at some practices they're still carrying that on. Some of them are doing 7 out of every 8 consultations are done remotely rather than in person. And this is still, even a lot of sort of regular GP practices.
How can they smell what's going on with my feet?
Exactly, you can't.
This over Zoom.
You can't massage a lump over Zoom. You need to sort of do a lot of this stuff.
To get in on that rash.
Yeah, you can't insert 2 fingers into the. It doesn't matter, but.
Bringing back some fond memories for you, Ben. I read in this article, it's interesting that I think they're saying 32 million appointments a month now. Now, this compares to 24,000 million a month pre-pandemic. So is this just that they're playing...
1,000 million.
It's 32 million now a month.
Right.
And before a lockdown, it was 24 million. So they are seeing a lot more people.
They've started answering the phone, haven't they?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But do you think this is partly them playing catch-up?
I should think so, yeah. It's incredibly difficult to get a doctor's appointment, isn't it? I mean, it really is like magic. Because I think my doctors, you have to phone up at 8 a.m. and by 2 minutes past 8, all the appointments are gone for the next 2 weeks. So it's just very, very difficult. When you've got children and they're not well, you have to resort to, witch doctors and improvising.
Also, just feed them vegetables, more vegetables, that might be help.
Whoa, that's basically being racist against Scottish people, Josh.
I apologise. Yeah. Also, there is a little thing here where the doctors, what they're saying, the GPs, they're saying that the current working arrangements are patriarchal. And this is their reason, their excuse for getting out of.
Is it not systemic as well? I mean, man, people just co-opt all this sort of woke language to sort of suit whatever they want. It's I don't think they said patriarchal first. I didn't bring up patriarchal.
But woke,
I'd love to have a show.
It doesn't take long for woke to be bandied around.
Because they say it, because they try and use this woke language. Like patriarchal is obviously woke language. Like all of this stuff, like colonialism and stuff like that.
Yeah,
all
it doesn't exist, does it?
No, but patriarchal, it can exist
to get out of
good societies.
I mean, Ben, do you think that the doctors should be finishing work at 5, or do you think they have a duty of care to see people longer, because that's also people have jobs as well?
Well, I guess, when it gets dark early, you want to get on the golf course before it's impractical.
Fair enough. So really they should be finishing at 3.
I mean, that's probably too late, really, isn't it? By the time you've got in your Range Rover and got out to the golf course.
So we're lucky to see them at any point.
Really, we should meet them at the golf course.
Ben, these are struggling public sector workers who are underpaid. They're in the NHS, which means they're definitely underpaid. So, I mean, don't you have some sympathy for them?
I do have some sympathy.
Doctors on 110 grand a year?
It's hard to sympathise with that kind of salary, isn't it? I mean, they've done the work.
Wait till you find out how much the diversity, equality and inclusion directors get. They get paid more.
Do they?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know, for using words like patriarchy.
Yeah.
Fine. Ben, what is the front page of the Telegraph saying then?
The front page of the Telegraph is saying that we've replaced the king with Paddington Bear.
Oh, yes.
No, I think I might have misunderstood that story. Johnson and Truss in planning rebellion, and I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't read too much about that because we were going to talk more about this story. Net migration surges to record high. Do you want to talk about that now or a bit later?
Mate, you're leading. You come on, go for it.
Well, I mean,
we've got notes as well. You bought a book. You've written notes. This is great. Go for it.
You told me to come in early and try and write something.
Do it.
And this is all I came up with.
Okay.
But
so what happened to the patriarchy?
Well, they're still around, aren't they? Net migration is the highest it's been since the Second World War, apparently, and the ONS point out that the bulk of the increase was driven by students arriving to study and people fleeing the war in Ukraine. So I guess no one's going to have a beef with that. I think if we want to cap the amount of people we have in the UK, though, it might be reasonable to think about swapping some of our terrible people with some new, better people. You know?
So what would be our terrible people?
Well, I'm going to give you some examples. You know, you get caught with your feet on the seat in the train, you're gone. You know, bring in a better person. You know, you drive your Range Rover into a yellow box junction, you're out. Swap with a better person.
What if you join ISIS? Can we get rid of you then, or have we got to accept you?
Well,
that's going to be in part 2.
We'll come back to that. I tell you what, if you are a man with a top knot, gone.
Yes.
Swap with a better person.
What about dyeing your hair in middle age?
I wouldn't do it. I certainly wouldn't do it. But I mean, I bet you'd love the opportunity, wouldn't you?
Oh, mate. Ow! Ow! Get him out of here. Don't know what you're talking about.
Lucky I'm in the middle.
You know what? I'm going to sit up here a little bit higher, and then that way the camera. Now I don't look bald. That's the way to do it. I've got lots of hair. This is interesting. Part of the reason why we have so much net migration is because some people are arguing that there's less people leaving the UK.
No, there's still a lot of people leaving the UK.
But not as many.
560 million people left the UK. So we've had 1.1 million people arrive in the UK, which I think is also a record high. And obviously, a lot of it is legitimate asylum seekers, people from Ukraine, who, it's women and children, and a lot of them will go home once Ukraine's liberated. But then, we've got other people gaming the system, gaming the asylum system, or gaming the student visa system to come over here and then work and stay, which, obviously is good there's benefits for the economy, but then it contributes to problems like, if the GPs are shutting at 5 p.m, how are we going to get GP appointments for everybody? There's going to be a housing crisis. Unless everybody brings a semi-detached house with them, there's going to be a housing crisis. So,
well, they're mostly building the houses as well.
I don't think they are.
Some of those Albanians are.
We're not building. House building has come way down since we've had mass immigration.
Well, that's because.
So, and also, I think. People always say, it's become this thing that's decried as racist to say, well, maybe we should have some sensible limits on immigration, because I think having such a huge proportion of the population coming in a year, and this is happening year after year, that's changing.
Well, it's not because these figures are so high because obviously lockdown finished. So that's partly the reason why things have gone up so much. There's a bit of a backlog.
No, but I'm talking over the last 2 decades since we became sort of neoliberal globalists.
But we are out of the EU now, so it isn't like this.
Exactly.
We have control of our borders,
so much.
right?
No, we don't. It's almost reduced the control of our borders because France has got no incentive now that we're out of the EU to actually sort of work with us in limiting migration.
I knew you'd come round. I knew we should have stayed in the EU.
But if you look at the criticism that's being levelled at Qatar, people are saying, well, look, this is a homophobic culture, they're sexist, they're racist and all the rest of it. And then people are like, but we should open the borders and have an unlimited numbers of men who have those beliefs. It's like, I don't get that. It doesn't square off in my mind. Surely if these, if some of these cultural norms are unpleasant in Qatar, they'd be unpleasant here.
OK, well, let's go on to the Times now, because Leo, you're talking about students there and people gaming the system.
Yeah.
This article really shows how much foreign students do actually bring to our economy.
Yeah, they bring their parents.
Well,
this is the maddest thing. I can't believe this. So they're going to introduce restrictions on foreign students bringing family members with them after the number of dependents almost tripled in a year. I mean, this shows that, you know, they're not coming specifically for study.
Well,
there's universities.
Some are not.
Some are not. Some are not coming specifically to study because, man, why would you bring your mum to university with you?
It's counterintuitive, doesn't it?
To do your washing.
You want to
because
have
of the
fun.
patriarchy.
You want to smoke a doobie and listen to some, you know, world music. You don't want to.
You had such a fun time at uni.
It was a long time ago, Josh.
With your doobies.
Yeah.
I mean, but it cannot be denied what foreign students bring to this economy. They bring £30 billion a year, and this is them paid. They subsidise the courses for the UK students, the postgraduate ones that stay around. You know, we are sucking some of the brightest.
Is that how we keep?
Yeah, that's. I'm at the border. Welcome to the UK.
But isn't that unfair in other countries? I've always seen, you know, like, so Sri Lanka or someone trains up doctors and stuff, and then we poach them. And, you know, I can see it's good for us because we're getting, you know, it allows us to get, you know, cheaper healthcare workers and stuff like that.
Well, that's a slightly different thing here. But what I'm also talking about is like the UK's university system, highly skilled, but also soft power. A lot of people come to the UK, they get educated here, they go back to their home countries. A lot of them then end up actually leading the country, being part of their government, and they have hopefully positive experiences in the UK living in the West. So there's lots of benefits, I think, to the wider world, actually.
Yeah, I think we've just got to tweak it so it's not being...
You think a little bit of tweaking.
Yeah.
Leave your mum at home, smoke those doobies.
Yeah.
OK.
We'll get all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. How about that for a system?
Fair enough. Ben, talk us through the Sun here.
Right, which one is this?
It's the one with the big red banner.
Oh, yes. Well, the big story on the Sun is Walliams, David Walliams.
It's not Walliams? You say...
is it Walliams?
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Probably is.
Let's go on with the story.
Let's go Walliams. Anyway, he's quit Britain's Got Talent amidst a bit of a furore. I think he was sort of heard saying some quite unpleasant things about some of the contestants.
Now, what exactly did he say, Ben?
Well, he called an old lady a
lady.
very bad word.
Oh, God, that's...
Very bad word.
Yes.
And I imagine it was a sort of in-joke.
Was it to her face?
I'm not sure.
Or another part of her?
I think he just had his mic on and sort of just said it and was recorded.
Right,
yeah.
And then he said some fairly unsavoury things about a female contestant that he, first of all, said, you know, looks like one of those people who thinks you want to... that word.
Do you know him at all? Did you meet him ever on the circuit?
I did meet him once, very briefly.
Did he stand up?
No, I just happened to sit next to him in a nightclub and he was chatting to a young woman, as it happened.
Okay.
How young are we talking?
Vernacular.
Adult. And but he wasn't very interested in chatting with me because he wanted to...
I hate him already.
Yeah.
But I like how this article basically says that he quit. It says, according to a source, that he said it feels time to move on. And it's like, it feels time for you to get fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Bill Cosby moved on.
Yeah, exactly. He's gone. I mean, I don't watch it. Actually, a lot of our friends and colleagues have actually done pretty well out of the whole Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah, it's not a natural setup for comedy.
No, it's a real gamble.
Have you done it?
No.
It's not like three men alone in a studio on a night time.
Yeah, but when you go out, I did Britain's Got Talent. You're not the authority in the room, and I think as a comedian, you've sort of got to be the authority.
You did
instead of yeah.
Oh,
did it as Pun Man. Well,
oh, you did it as Pun Man.
Here, that tells you how well.
You got your big break. And what did David Walliams say about you?
Oh man,
he's such a...
Everything that he said about that elderly contestant, I would like to say about him right now. He was such a... You know what he said?
He was such an elderly contestant.
He said to me, do you write your own jokes? And I was like, of course I write my own jokes. You know, I'm the UK pun champion. And then he just buzzed his thing to send me off.
Wow, I'm glad you've let go of that anger.
I haven't. You know what? I haven't.
So you're happy. This is like the best front page you've seen for a while.
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Can we see this on YouTube?
I don't think so. I don't think it ever made it.
You've got it deleted, have you?
I'm in the background in a few scenes, but it's not.
All right, good. All right, well, that's it for part one. Join us after the break for fraudsters, sick police, and the robots that are going to end up replacing them. See you in 2.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something weird happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky. That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg.
And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak.
Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
And it's about standards and public life. No, I'll tell you what's hypocrisy, Narendra.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin.
We believe in the UK.
No bias, no censorship.
It just doesn't make sense to me. He wasn't doing his job as Chancellor.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton Tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie. He's Leo Kearse. He's Ben Norris. These are the newspapers. Starting this section with Friday's Sun. And Ben, are you going to receive one of these texts?
So this is about the UK's biggest ever fraud bust. 70,000 warned that they might have been victims of global bank scam that saw £50 million stolen. In Britain, it says a suspected mastermind who ran a website called iSpoof, used by fraudsters around the world, was among those held in the police operation. Apparently, he's a Cockney.
Cockney. All right, Keith.
They did think that was important to say.
Do you want this perfume? Is that a really bad Cockney accent?
I would
say
it's pretty poor. I think if someone contacts you from a website called iSpoof, you may want to proceed with caution. Although this was a website to help other fraudsters do fraud. And very popular and very successful. But the thing that caught my eye...
British ingenuity.
That's easy for you to say. The bit that caught my eye says police will contact 70,000 iSpoof victims by text over the next 2 days. These messages will ask people to register their details on the Action for website. Now, this, to me, is a bit like victims of a mugging being asked to meet the police down the end of a dark alley, isn't it?
Yeah. And bring all your money with you just to check how much is missing.
They're going to get this text saying, email this. Surely there's going to be this horrendous déjà vu. It's not going to exactly fill them with confidence, but you have to feel really sorry for these people. A lot of them have lost a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, so have criminals, and that's why they're turning to internet fraud. It's hard to make a living from crime, from the old-fashioned type of crime. You nick a television. Televisions used to be worth hundreds of pounds. Now they're worth, not very... And they're huge. Can't even get them out the door. So
huge but thin.
Huge but thin, so...
They used to be really thick, didn't they?
So you just slide them under the door, that's a good thing. You don't have to carry them anymore.
You can't run them through like a dog with a stick. But so they're sort of attracting this generation of criminals. I don't know why the criminals don't just get a job. Like, for the amount of hassle it's going to be, like signing up to this website, paying for this fraud stuff.
And they've got to pay for Bitcoin as well, weren't they? So it's like you've got to learn how Bitcoin works.
Yeah, just the amount of effort and hassle you've got to go through. Just get a job in fintech or something.
That could be the future, yeah. I quite like the police commissioners. He said, this is the biggest fraud operation in the country, and it signals a different approach. And I was just thinking, yeah, catching criminals. Well done. But they're so proud of themselves, aren't they? That they've launched this thing and they're working with the FBI. They're all online. I mean, it's a huge amount of money now that is being taken. I mean, I think it actually accounts for 60, 70% of pretty much all crime at the moment.
Right.
So I don't know how they're going to, if that is what the police, if that's going to be their job in the future, is essentially dealing with the scammers.
It's all part of that, our cashless society. You know, we're moving away from having money on us to beeping things and watches. And so obviously criminals are responding to that and getting at your money through the back door.
Well, that's the next step. I was just saying, I'm thinking muggers, when you start seeing muggers and they're going to have one of those little machines with them.
They do, they've got skimmers to like skim the card in your pocket if you're standing at the bar
really? Well,
or something.
there we go.
But they've also...
I don't go to the bar, so I don't know these.
Skimmers that they fit over cash machines as well, so when you put your card in, they can get your details. But a lot of, you know how when you get an email that's fraudulent and trying to get you to put your bank details in, you're always like, man, who'd fall for this? It's all, you know, higgledy-piggledy, misspelt and everything. They deliberately make them rubbish so they get stupid people, because stupid people are more likely to be fleeceable for more money further down the line.
Like the same people who want a bigger penis, because you get those emails.
So the penis gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
You guys, have you been looking at my inbox? He said,
I have never looked at your inbox.
That's a euphemism there.
Made clear.
Right, on to Friday's mail. And Leo, are there even more useless policemen than we thought?
Well, according to the Daily Mail, there are. So the Met Police Chief admits that the Met Police has got 100 officers who are not trusted to speak to the public, but who he can't get rid of. And when they say, I mean, the headline's sort of misleading. Like, it's not that they're not trusted to speak to the public because they might commit a faux pas or something like that. These are people who've been accused of misconduct or something, you know, something quite bad. So they've got very restrictive conditions on where they can work. They've got to have a desk job away from windows, anything with a hole you could get something through, and squirting people outside. So yeah, 100 of them, and he's not allowed to fire them because I guess the power of the police unions. You know, they look after
it's not actually that. I think it's
something in my head. I like my.
If you'd read to page 2 in the thing
I don't
you'll
need
see,
that.
no, what it is actually that police officers have a warrant, so they're technically not employees. They're like their own independent people. So the only people that can fire them are these panels instead.
Right.
And a lot of those people who are on the panels are actually ex-police men, women, and they tend to be more lenient. So the insane thing is, of the people, there's only 1% of officers who are these misconduct cases who have actually been dismissed.
Yeah.
So that's pretty insane statistic. And the other thing that I think, and Ben, I don't know if you saw this, that 10% of the total workforce at the moment are not able to be fully deployed. What do you think about that?
There's an awful lot of sickness, isn't there, in the police? You know, people off sick, I should say.
Because you get sick pay.
Yeah.
That'll encourage sickness.
But do you think it's because of as one of the someone pointed out, that it's because of the trauma? It's a hard job. I mean, to be fair to them, it is a hard job, and it would explain why maybe there are so many people off.
Yeah, I think you have to feel sorry for some police officers who perhaps aren't cut out for it. But you know, this would also suggest that an awful lot of them. There's a lot of bad apples in that barrel, isn't there?
Well, 100.
Some of those bad apples are off sick.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I used to work for the police. I was a criminal intelligence analyst, and it's not that hard a job. And now it's got even easier, because if you want an easy life, you can just join the police, commit some misconduct, and then you don't ever have to do any work, because they can't fire you and they can't make you place you anywhere.
Fired? Why did you get
left?
Why did you decide to do a David Walliams?
I took voluntary redundancy and got money.
Hey, well, OK, fair enough. That's where our taxpayer money went. Good. Sticking with the mail. And Ben, do you buy into Shamima Begum's sob story?
It's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky.
I knew you were going to say that. You pinko.
Well, no, I mean, I've had 15-year-old daughters, and they did some fairly questionable things. One of them, I seem to remember, dyed her hair orange, and the other one pierced her nose. But neither of them came anywhere near running away to Syria and joining ISIS. when I was 15, I was massively into music, so I would spend most of my time I'd spend my pocket money on records, so I was just obsessed by music, whereas Shamima wanted music outlawed, you know, so I think she's got a very different sort of teenage experience to mine. I guess one thing you can't fault Shamima Begum is her ambition. You know, was she imagining herself in a book group or, you know, a knitting circle as a teenager? No, international terrorism. You know, she set her sights pretty high.
And a bit of travel. Now, Leo, there's an argument here that, you know, that she was trafficked. Do you buy into this narrative?
Well, yeah, she was trafficked. She was groomed by Islamic State. She was young. She was 15. Well, the grooming started obviously much younger. And funnily enough, the ages of victims of the grooming for the brides, like Shamima, is actually younger than the average age of the grooming gang victims in this country. So, and also talking about this country created her. She's not from overseas. She was radicalised in this country, and it shows the failure of our approach to multiculturalism. I mean, it's great to have multiculturalism when you don't get 15-year-old girls being radicalised and joining ISIS, but if that is part of the culture, you know, the state, society needs to step in and fix it. I mean, the only issue with this specific, I think we are responsible for what happened to her, and I think it's a tragedy for her and for the country and for people in Syria. But we've got to look at the public safety aspect, and if we set a precedent by allowing Shamima to return, then there are around about 150 other former ISIS people who, under the same conditions, would be allowed to return. And I just think that's far too much of a risk. You know, we've seen, large-scale terror attacks. I mean, there was one not long ago where somebody tried to blow up a maternity hospital in Liverpool. And I think, crimes like that are just so unbelievably
And
heinous.
I don't believe that person was returning from ISIS, though. Was he?
No, but
radicalised a different way.
But it's the same ideology. So we can't.
No, of course.
We can't
And
funnily enough, he was here as an asylum seeker. So it's part of the.
But I mean, it's an interesting point. But the reality is that already a lot of people who were part of ISIS have already come back to this country, and they have maintained. Why have they managed to keep their passports and still be British citizens, and she has not?
I don't know.
OK, well, let's move on. I don't know. I mean, it's just, I don't know. There seems like some hypocrisy, like why she is not allowed and some people were allowed back.
She got too famous.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Fame. She's brought down by fame.
She's had a glow-up. She looks good now. She had a glow-up instead of a blow-up. And, yeah, I mean, I think, if she moves back, she looks like a wag. That's the sort of... I think maybe that'll save us all from Islamic fundamentalism. Just makeup and OnlyFans.
Oh, really? That's your solution to it. Wow, that's really that's not patriarchal. Right, finishing this section with Friday's Guardian, and Ben, dead or alive, you're coming with me.
This is unbelievable, isn't it?
Good impression.
Yeah. San Francisco police are proposing to use a robot that's capable of deadly force. So it says they're going to... This just... I mean, have these people not seen RoboCop? This is not going to end well, is it? No. So it says here the Kinetic Talon 2 can be weaponised. A model in use by the US Army can be modified to add machine guns and grenade launchers.
Which is what you need for someone parking badly. It's important.
I mean, how long before it's Alexa, shoot this guy's face off?
Well, I think it's going to be safer than human police officers, because I saw a picture of the robot. It doesn't have knees, so it's going to eliminate. Eliminate that problem.
So you think racism would be over?
But I mean, it's not as if humans never make mistakes. I think robots, and obviously they're not going to deploy it in a way. Well, they probably will deploy it in a way where it could make mistakes, but it also removes the risk of harm to the police officer. And in the States, a lot of police officers get killed, and they really do put themselves in harm's way. So,
no, but it's weird though, isn't it? Because what we're talking about here is a mindless, conscience-free, heavily armed killer, and the US police force already has thousands of those. So,
wow. Satire.
Bold statement there. But also the other thing is with robots, if they are sort of controlled by algorithms, there is actually proof that some of these algorithms are inherently racist because of the people who built them. I mean, it just
so we don't
like...
need to program it to be racist. That's going to save time.
It's a bonus, you think?
Yeah.
OK. Fine, right, that's all for part 2. Join us in part 3 for They Them Toilets. England fans' fancy dress parties, and a plus-size passenger. See you in 2.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel. Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12, on TV, on radio and online.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie. I'm still joined by Leo Kearse and Ben Norris. Barely. Let's crack on. Back with Friday's Daily Mail. And Leo, I don't think any women going to the toilet in Parliament want to see Big Ben.
No, they don't. Is that what you refer to? Anyway, so there's fury at woke plan for gender neutral. There's that woke word again. For gender neutral toilet quotas to be included in a £13 billion revamp of the Houses of Parliament, so all staff can be their authentic selves at work.
As they do, wee.
Well, yeah, my authentic self at work is somebody who likes women to smell when I've done a poo. But so this is going to really help me achieve that. So apparently 70% of bathroom facilities in any new buildings erected in the coming decades are going to be gender neutral. We actually had a gender neutral toilet in my house growing up. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, my mum and my dad both used the same toilet.
Yeah,
I was
disgusting.
Like, we are so woke. Yeah. And they just said, what do you mean? Because it was 1986.
My parents would use different wings of the mansion.
Woke back then.
And that's how they would do it.
Oh, because you're posh. You Josh went to private school.
I went to private school.
I know.
But we don't call it private, we call it public school.
That's how posh it is.
So confusing.
It's got the wrong word for it.
Yeah.
So very, very, very posh.
Like the public baths.
Now, we have toilets here. Ben, have you used the toilets here?
I have.
Yeah, what do you think? I mean, they're gender-neutral toilets.
They are.
They go all the way to the top. Do you have an issue with them?
Well, sometimes you go in there and it smells of lady, and it's a bit confusing.
Oh, OK. I mean, I've got to be honest, I don't like it at all. Even though that they are floor-to-ceiling and stuff, it still feels weird. I mean, I don't like... When we went to the toilet yesterday, and it was a bit awkward.
Together. We weren't like holding hands.
No,
like
but you were like, what, 4 cubicles across? But I could still hear you a little bit, and then it was like, how loud is his wee compared to my wee? What does it mean? But you were further away because you're tall. Anyway, the point is...
I switched my mic off for
You
nothing.
weren't hearing that. You were just hearing him angrily mumbling, woke.
But the point is, that's what it's like with a fellow man. But with a woman, I would argue that even then it just feels wrong to be in that kind of space. And also, I think for women in the shared space and the awkwardness of it as well, I think it must be like that. But they're talking about it's a huge amount of money that they have to also spend to do that. Do you think that they should be worrying about this, or how do you feel about toilets?
Well, I can see a distinct advantage in, like in comedy clubs in the interval, when you see, the men happily going in and out of the loos and the ladies are immediately in this long queue. So I think for a lot of women, this might be hugely advantageous that everybody's got the same opportunity to do a tinkle.
I mean, this was written, this report that actually came out in 2019, and they're now looking into it. Do you think, Leo, that it feels like 2019 was when this stuff was at its peak? Do you think that now, because MPs are saying they're going to challenge this report, do you think that actually we're kind of over that and people are recognising the need for these single-sex spaces now?
No, I don't think it's peaked at all. I think wokeism is, there's that word again, wokeism is like London house prices. It's never going to come down. You can have a nuclear war. It's still
but certainly
keep going
it
up.
feels like...
Have a pandemic, still keeps going up.
Things that were pushed through automatically by these... I don't even know if there would be articles about this a couple of years ago. It just seemed to be happening organically, supposedly.
Right.
Now it's being challenged. People are looking at these reports and going, wait a minute, this seems unfair to the women who do want to have single-sex.
Well, it's created a genre of journalism which is noticing this stuff. So
and then we get to talk about it.
People have started to pretend to care about women again, but really we just want to be angry and rant about stuff.
Yeah, well, there we go. Angry. Ugh. Friday's Guardian and Ben, looks like they finally decided to start reporting on gender identity.
Yeah, just when we thought we'd got off a difficult topic completely.
Let's go straight into it.
Let's go straight back into a very similar one. I mean, yeah, it seems that there has been, you know, a fairly large rise in the amount of people, born girls, who decide that they want to be boys.
5,000%, I believe.
5,000%?
5,000% in the last 10 years.
Mikey,
yeah.
That is a lot, isn't it? I mean, I don't know enough about the details of this. I imagine some of it is because it's easier now than ever to be a trans person. So maybe there was always
Why are they always complaining then? If it's so easy, why are they always complaining?
Well, I mean, not necessarily easier for them, but easier to say to your teachers and your colleagues or whatever that I think I'm in the wrong sex.
Right.
But this article...
You get marked down if you don't.
Well, do you? I mean, is that true?
Man, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, well, you've got teenage girls.
The only way you can raise it... I've just had a baby girl, and for me to make sure she stays a baby girl, I've got to homeschool her in Idaho.
Look, this is actually a very interesting article. The Observer for some time has been quite good on this issue, reporting about it. This is the first time I've seen The Guardian actually do something called investigating into this particular phenomenon. We've known about it for a while. We've known that young teenage girls in particular, the jump has been beyond what would be expected. So this is an article that points to a bunch of different reasons, and if you've read this book, Irreversible Damage, it talks about some of these reasons here. But finally, The Guardian, this feels like a turning point for me anyway, is that they are actually finally reporting on this stuff. They're talking about how going through puberty is a factor, people feel uncomfortable with their bodies, autism, there's a huge amount of young girls with autism. There's also this idea of a social contagion, in that it's like this version of people self-harming or anorexia.
The Guardian can see the writing on the wall now, so when the Tavistock gender clinic shut down, there's a lawsuit pending, a class action lawsuit with over 1,000 damaged children. So, I mean, for some people, transitioning, you know, when you're a teenager is absolutely the right thing to do, and you know, absolutely, you know, it's great that they've got access to that stuff. But too many children are being funneled into this pathway that leads to real life-changing hormonal treatments, drug treatments, and surgery.
People having their breasts chopped off.
And it's replaced anorexia and bulimia. I mean, anorexia is, you know, really come down just as this has come up, because it's replaced that as a way that pubescent girls take control over their body and avoid that sort of sexualisation. And it's telling that, you know, 10, 20 years ago, it was men wanting to transition, or males wanting to transition to be women. And now it's the other way around. Now it's people whose natal gender is female, which we used to say women, because that was easy, who want to transition to being men.
Yeah, and there are studies that show that actually 9 out of those 10 young women will detransition or come out of it in terms of it being a phase and won't need the surgery and these irreversible things.
Yeah.
Your daughters, obviously, well, I'm calling them your daughters, but they must have seen this kind of increase amongst their friends, them, and whatever. And there's quite a few examples they use at end of different parents who have been going through this, and it must be very difficult for them to have their child come to them and say this and what that means for them.
What's interesting about that generation is that they are far less concerned about it than we are. So when they talk about people at school that have transitioned or are in the middle of doing so, it seems to be completely normal to them.
Right. Even the surgery and the hormones and stuff.
Yeah, they don't seem to. They've grown up in a culture where it's not seen as anything.
It's just like getting a tattoo or a piercing.
Yeah, kind of.
Having a hysterectomy and being sterilised.
Yeah, well,
since you put it like that, yeah.
Because this is the thing, it's a sort of social contagion. We had them, like, when I was growing up, we had double denim, we had mullets, stuff like that.
Wrong with that.
But, you can get... But, you can get, or you can keep, you don't need to get rid of it. I mean, you're somebody who transitioned to double denim and stayed there. But, you can grow out a mullet. Like Josh, he's got rid of the bit in the front and the top. But with this kind of stuff, you can't, and this is the sad thing, the forums are full of people saying, like, how do I grow my breast back?
Yeah.
And it's like,
that is absolutely sad. Well, I'm glad The Guardian have finally pulled their thumb out. On to the Mail and Leo. You'd think Qatar would be the one place where you could wear traditional Arabic clothing.
Well, yeah, not if you're going to have some drinks. So football fans at the Qatar World Cup are being told to take off Arabic robes and headdresses when they enter bars selling booze after complaints from locals that it's an insult to Islam. Because one of the core things of Islam, you might be aware of this, is no booze, not allowed to drink, which is probably just as well. I mean, imagine drunk ISIS. I mean, they're bad enough when they're sober. But yeah, so that would be like, that would be like a Scottish ISIS. But yeah, so people have been wearing the robes because they're comfortable, because it's fun and stuff.
A thobe and a thobe
is
the robe,
and a gutra.
And gutra is the headdress.
Yeah,
they're all right with the headdress, though. Is that right, Ben? Is that?
I didn't know.
Okay. If you didn't read that bit, but.
Well, because
they're basically saying that's right. But I believe. Do you know why they're not okay with the thobe? They're saying it's because that's what you pray in. That's the idea behind it.
Man, can they make their mind up? It's like women have to wear it, like men can't wear it. It's like, come on, can't people just wear what they want?
Can I ask you?
Not double denim, never.
So when, I don't know, English rugby fans maybe put on they go to play Scotland and wear the tam with the ginger hair sticking out. Yeah. I mean, they're sort of taking the mickey, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
And I imagine this is very similar.
Well, I think it's also you wear it out there. People are arguing. They're saying that we're doing it to kind of fit in. They're selling these on the street in all the different colours of the different football teams from around the world. So this is a tourist thing, but I guess they want to control that. But there's also, very quickly, there's another thing where people are being stopped dressing up as the Crusaders, I understand, and that. So what is it with British football fans just wanting to get dressed up?
Yeah.
The Crusader thing is like...
That definitely is offensive.
You think that's...
Come on, it's been a while.
It has been a while, but the last time people dressed like that went to the Middle East, it ended really badly.
Yeah.
I know, but at the same time, they're saying that it's, what about respect for British culture? They're actually saying they're dressed as St. George. I mean, I'd argue that going to a desert country wearing chainmail is kind of stupid.
Is that why we didn't do so well the first time round?
Do you think that's what it is?
If we'd have worn the Arabic robes, we might have won the Crusades. Did we win the Crusades? I don't even know.
I think it was a 1-1 draw.
Right. No, we're back.
First ever. Did they have the stadium back then?
Yeah.
Right, ending the section with the Mail. And was this woman banned from flying because they were afraid that she'd steal all the nuts, Leo?
Oh, my God, I don't know if we've got a picture, but...
We got a picture!
We've got a picture. Well, we're lucky this is in widescreen.
Let's get to it in a second.
Furious plus-size model has said she was stopped from boarding a Qatar Airways flight, it's always Qatar these days, to her native Brazil because she was too large for her seat. I mean, large is one word you could use. So social media influencer Juliana Nem, 38, is accused, I'm amazed she made it that old.
Oh, no, there we go.
There we go, is now accused the Middle Eastern airline of discriminating against her due to her size. I mean, come on, this is mocking the laws of physics that allow planes to take off. You're in a sort of aluminium tin that, because of air flowing over the wings, somehow manages to cheat gravity. And then you're going to get on it like that? This isn't... And she's like, they wouldn't... Of course they wouldn't. Like, have you seen airline seats?
I mean,
But
Ben,
you need
come
to be
on,
shipped
honest,
in
mate.
a tarpaulin.
You're walking down the aisle and then you're going like 38, 39. Hello. Hello, and then I'm going to sit in. I mean, what do you think?
That would be difficult.
Do you think that they basically said to her, look, you've got to pay a bit more money and you can go first class. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that there's the idea that
people in first class?
Well, I mean, if she was taking, they have larger seats. But there is a serious issue here where, because people are getting larger, and certainly in Western countries, they're
getting taller, they're getting fatter.
Because of the patriarchy in Western countries and wokeness, they are having to. There are dangers, aren't there? I understand in terms of the weight of the plane and also fuel safety and whatnot. I mean, do you think that maybe
the tiny portions in the
they're talking about maybe people being weighed every time they go? Did you?
Well, they weigh your luggage, don't they? So it seems that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see. Imagine that abject humiliation.
Well,
of everybody
unfortunately, she didn't manage to get on the plane. She's still there on a diet. That's it for part 3. Don't go anywhere, because coming up we've got kicked out of school, picked up at school, and boys being better at school. See you in 2.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents. Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
I think I've seen probably quite enough of Matt Hancock to last me a lifetime.
I'll also be getting to know you better, travelling to find out what you think about the politicians who are fighting for your vote.
They've got to get this country back on track.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. only on GB News, on TV, radio and online.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. And let's crack through these bad boys. Ben, we're going to kick off with you in the Metro. And is homeschooling back?
Well, it is for this chap, Alfie Ransom, who's he's been thrown out of school because he had a Ronaldo haircut his mum gave him. So he had the bit at the all shaved off with just the bit at the front.
It's the old Ronaldo, isn't it?
It's the old Ronaldo. Yeah. Apparently, this is this kid's favourite.
This is my haircut. This is what I've got. No one ever recognises that I've got the Ronaldo. Everyone's thinks it's bald, but no, I've got the Ronaldo.
But it's weird, isn't it? This is a 12-year-old boy talking about a haircut from over 20 years ago. Yeah. If I had done the same at 12...
Oh, there we go. We've got a picture of him there.
Yeah. If I had done that at 12...
He stole my hair.
I would have had to have a Bobby Charlton haircut. Yeah. I don't know if you can imagine that.
Well, what's interesting here is that the school have basically suspended him.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had 2 years off school, This is ridiculous.
Yeah, and totally. And like, how come schools are absolutely fine with you transitioning and all this sort of stuff, but oh my God, get your hair cut a funny way.
Yeah, and also
that's
if you
banned.
and also if you go on holiday, basically, if I want to get my kids off on holiday next time and choose at a different out of school, I'm just going to give them like weird haircuts, and then that way they'll get suspended. Anyway, right, next one. Guardian now, and Leo, will you be forwarding this article to your parents?
Possibly. So picking up grandchildren from school can help mental health, according to a study. Although I read into it, they do have to be your own grandchildren. You can't just go and grab random grandchildren from a school. Get permission first. So there's a study of 200,000 participants, and it showed that grandparents who looked after their grandkids felt less isolated. Well, obviously. I mean, you don't need a study for that. You've got kids with you. And also greater fulfillment, because you're looking after these kids. By contrast, those who looked after a spouse with an illness or disability were linked to increased feelings of loneliness, which is really sad. I mean, I think this comes back to we're sort of designed to live in tribes, and everybody's got a place and identity, and we share the sort of child rearing, and everybody mucks in instead of these sort of granular, isolated lives that we live in modern society.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I mean, that's my dream. I'm not joking. Like, if I am very lucky and I'm blessed to make it to old age, and I'm blessed with my kids having kids, that's genuinely the thing that I'm most looking forward to in my life, is one day being able to like pick up the grandkids and hang out with them and whatever. So, of course, it makes absolute sense. But my parents don't do diddly. Very angry about it. On to the Telegraph. And is this actually a positive article about boys at school, Ben?
Yes, apparently boys have beaten girls.
Yes!
In the first national times tables test. And for me...
Come on, boys!
For me, that just doesn't add up.
Hey, sorry, mate. I didn't feel like you got the joke in there eventually.
Yeah, almost didn't.
But we're always told that girls are better, and it seems like actually pretty much all these other tests, girls always seem to be better, to come out on top or whatever. But this seems to be the one thing that boys... And it was funny, this Professor Alan Smithers, he seemed very apologetic, kind of. He said, oh, I know we're sort of buying into stereotypes, but yes, boys are good at maths or whatever. It's like, why can't we just go, that's a good... It doesn't mean girls are bad at maths, it just means that there's a higher propensity for it.
It shows what's wrong with our society. I think yesterday we were talking about young male suicide, and it's like, man, you've got to let... Everything's about, we've got to empower women, blah, blah, blah. Like, why can't we just empower some young men sometimes? Because, it's tough being a young boy. It's not tough being a man, though. That's dead easy.
No, of course. But this is part of an initiative that has been launched, and I remember my second son, he was doing it, where they're basically now testing all these kids with the timetables, and the idea is to kind of bring up the mathematical literacy to sort of Singapore and whatever. Anyway, look, I think it's a good thing. It meant that I spent like all of last year doing timetables, which was driving me a little bit mad, but my timetables are amazing. Friday's Mail now, and I guess with you here every night at missing bedtime, Leo, this story thing isn't going to affect you.
Well, yeah, but my baby's too young to understand what I'm saying. Huh?
You don't read to her yet?
No, but I speak to her. Ooh, she's 6 weeks old. You can't. What's she going to...
Traumatising her for life.
Follow a narrative. So maybe when she, I'm not saying she's falling behind in her work, but yeah, I talked to her loads. She's great. But 40% of Brits under 30 believe that traditional fairy tales, including Hansel and Gretel and Rumpelstiltskin, are inappropriate, because 46% of Brits under 30 are absolute idiots. So as many as 90% of young people believe the tales are old-fashioned. I don't know, I think we might find over the next, few decades, the values in some of these old-fashioned ideas. But, I mean...
Shakespeare's a bit old-fashioned as well, isn't
it? Yeah, it is. A lot of this stuff that from the old days is quite old-fashioned. That's how...
I mean, do you think that they're sexist, Ben? This is what 90% of young people believes.
I mean,
89%.
I think I'm going to find myself on the same side as this.
Oh, here we go.
He's
anti-woke.
When it comes to fairy tales, just leave them alone.
Yeah.
They're just fairy tales.
Well, also, they serve a function, don't they? They teach morals, is the idea.
And just mad stuff as well. I mean, like putting babies in an oven and eating them and stuff like that. Fairy tales are really dark and weird, and I think children love... Roald Dahl's stuff was really, dark and strange and Machiavellian as well.
Yeah, so your plan is when your daughter grows up a little bit more, you're going to read these stories to her?
Yes.
Good, OK.
I am now, especially now that I know that it annoys people under 30.
You'll literally do anything to annoy people. Well done. That's all for tonight. Thanks very much to our brilliant guests, Leo Kearse and Ben Norris. Headliners will be back tomorrow at 11.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late-night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening